are she and her. And I am a film, TV critic, full-time political journalist, which is its own kind of horror with politics. And you can find me on social media at Miss Chauncey KR, on Twitter at Miss Chauncey K, on Instagram, and also my YouTube channel, which is Twisted CKR, which I have a focus with my film and TV criticism on horror and dark fantasy.
Awesome. Wow. Woo, what a resume. All right. Next, we're going to go with Jasmine and Kathleen. Hello, hello.
Hey.
So
I love that.
Jazz and Kathleen. I know it just says my name, but that's okay. It's Jazz. It usually says Jazz and Kat, but we are Girl That's Scary. We are a horror podcast, so you can catch us at Girl That's Scary on Twitter, Instagram. We also have a website, www.girlthatscary.com, and we talk about horror, sci-fi, and everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so we do reviews, and then sometimes we kind of do episodes where we group like maybe all monster movies or all movies that take place in the water or something like that, and we give out like recommendations and stuff. So yeah.
Check us out.
Awesome. I've listened to some episodes of the podcast, and I love the rhythm and the rapport and everything else that you all have. Love it. Love to see it.
Thank
you.
Yeah.
Next we're gonna go with Miss Kissia. How are you doing?
Sorry, it's Kyasia.
Kyasia? Oh, excuse me.
No,
excuse
it's okay.
me.
It's okay. That's why I just have people call me Kai. But my pronouns are she, they. I am the founder of Kai Effects Horror Group, which is a multimedia platform supporting inclusion in the horror genre, where I just pretty much showcase Black horror content creators like Kat and Jazz, like Zero, like Real Queen of Horror. There. I also am a special effects makeup artist as well. And also I have a podcast, Monstrosity's Voice, Horrors and Touch Conversations, a podcast for Black horror by Black horror. So I just kind of do a little bit of everything. So
yeah, that is so cool to have a special effects person in the chat. I mean, we watch all these horror films and we see how, I guess like how the sausage is made. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
that is so cool to have you aboard. And next, we're gonna go with Zero, or would you prefer Zoe?
Zero, please. Always Zero.
Okay.
Well, my name is Zero Gravity. She, her, please. I am a content creator and host. I circle my content around the underrepresented peoples of the nerd genre, just because I myself am a big old blurred. And that's all I got.
No, that's very cool. I know the last time I think I saw your post, your hair was like this really cool green. So I was like, okay, Zero, this cool chick,
Thank you. I've transitioned to a winter green now. So I'm like a winter and not a summer, but I might go back.
All right. I see you. All right. And last but not least, the amazing Miss Zena. How are you doing? Welcome aboard.
Good. Hi, everybody. Oh my gosh. I didn't know there were going to be so many people. Now I feel kind of shy. I don't know if I really want to. But my name is Zena, she, her. I write, direct, do YouTube. I do a lot of things. I'm just a girl who likes horror, who likes to scream in front of my camera, talking about different movies. I'm always on Twitter, Lovely Zena, as well as Instagram, YouTube, just Real Queen of Horror, and I have my blog, realqueenofhorror.com.
Awesome. Well, you know what? I'm just going to shout out Miss Zena. She has been killing it in the game. Everyone has. If you can check out Zena's YouTube, all of the videos are top notch. I am so delighted to have everyone aboard. So let's jump into our very first question. What does Black horror mean to you, and what was your introduction to the genre at large? So I'm just going to pick someone at random. Let's go with Jazz and Kat.
Woohoo, the first people. All right, so Black horror for us is, for me, it's all the Black representation. So all the Black stars, the Black ghouls and monsters and vampires, the Black directors, Black makeup artists, all of those people. Like I include in Black horror. And honestly, my mom got me into it. She took me to see Scream in the theater. I was 6. And, it's been going on since then. I just love horror. Me and my brothers, we literally used to go to the Blockbuster and get the little DVDs and CDs, and we were always in the horror section. So it's a passion.
Yeah, same. Black horror feels like home. Like it feels good to see yourself in a movie, like, and also like, which is also great over time, where we're seeing ourselves play like day role characters and kind of in the shadows, to now that we are the lead. Like it just feels good to see yourself represented. For me, it would be a mixture of my mom and my dad. So of course, my mom got me into horror, so I'm seeing all like Freddy Krueger movies, and of course, like the Black characters are kind of just like the side characters, like they're the friend, they're the homegirl. But my dad was really into Blaxploitation films. So that was what really got me into like Blackula, which, by the way, to me is like one of the saddest movies, and other films like that. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, let's jump over to Zero. What about you, Black horror?
Well, Black horror is the best. But I think people would classify Black horror as a couple different things. But for me personally, I would agree with Jazz and Kat. It's like the whole shebang. It's not just the films that were directed, produced by Black people. It could be anything. Because there's, people like us know there's bits and pieces of these movies that have, a Black horror moment, and it might not be a Black horror film, but those moments are sprinkled in throughout all, like, all cinema. And I think it's the moments that speak to me the most, because it's kind of like a nod to your direction that we know that you're watching. And now to see the subgenre grow so much, I guess it represents entirely for me just progress. Progress for the fans, progress for the people behind the camera too. And I would say community as a whole.
Awesome. I just saw in the chat some people shouted out Blaxploitation, Sugar Hill. Shout out to everyone's cinematic knowledge in the chat. Next, Chauncey, what about you?
Yeah, well, I think, it's all those things, it's the representation when there's a Black final girl, which should be usually the norm, because Black women are survivors in general. It's just unrealistic when we die. I always say that's one of my things in films, or when we sacrifice ourselves for certain leads and things. But yeah, it's all of that. And I honestly think it's also the horror genre, just the Black horror is horror, just like the Black experience in America is the American experience. It's interwoven into everything that we do. And it's not, when things, as they say, like in America, when America catches a cold, Black people catch pneumonia, right? Like the things that happen in the horror, things that happen in America happen to us. Like we're interwoven. There's certain sections that when we get separated and out and things like that, which is great. But I also love it when it's intermixed and it's all throughout. It's not just a separate and apart kind of a deal. With that said, though, I actually, one of the first movies I was taken to was Freddy Krueger Part 2. In the theater, but I was a baby. I was still an infant. And this is back when like movies were in the theater for like a year or so. So I would say, so I don't remember it. And I grew up with all boys, and they basically scared me with Freddy Krueger for years. So I actually, one of the jokes that goes on is, how did Chauncey end up in horror? Because we would terrify her with Freddy and things. And I just kind of came around to, I think one day I just, as cheesy as it sounds, I was like, I'm going to conquer my fear. And, and so I ended up loving horror from then on out. I tend to focus in on things when I love it. So I, maybe around 12 or so, I just went gung ho, and I just made it a thing where I was like, I want to see more people that look like me in it and my family. So, yeah.
Hey, that's true. That's a good response. All right, let's go with Miss Zena. I know you have like an immense like mental Rolodex of films. I'm always just blown away. Like, how does she find these films? How do you catalog them? But I guess we'll start with Black horror, and then you can kind of expound and explicate from there.
Well, honestly, I don't know how I do it. I just hope for the best, with these topics. But the ladies, they already just kind of like mentioned it, but like Black horror, I feel, is horror. And I love being able, when I'm watching a movie, I'm able to see someone who looks like me. And I didn't know that that was a thing until one of the first movies that I ever watched. And I always talk about this one, Night of the Demons from 1988. And I remember my mom, she's a huge horror fan. She was always watching it. Like this woman, she would just pop it on like it was like the news or something, And so I'm like the youngest of 6. So I remember it's kind of like, okay, either you can sit in here with us and watch it, or you could just leave the room, and obviously I don't want to leave the room. So I find myself just watching it along. And then I was just so intrigued and I couldn't get enough of it. And so seeing Roger as an example, like, honestly, he did everything that I feel like I would have done if I was in that type of situation. Then years down the line, when I rewatched the movie when I was like a teenager, and we've all done some dumb things, okay? We've all done some stuff where it's just like, okay, maybe perhaps I shouldn't have played with that Ouija board. Maybe I should have never gone to that cemetery. I know, I was hanging out with some wild kids. It was a spooky time in my life. And I wanted to explore too, I wanted to feel a little razzle dazzle. But anyway, so like basically, I remember just relating so much to Roger, because when he knew it was time to go, even though it was too late, he knew it was time to go. And then even thinking about, okay, spoiler, if you haven't seen this movie, he survived. And it's just kind of like, because he reacted. And I feel like, if I was ever put in that situation, depended on the situation. Like if it was like zombies or something, then honestly, I'm dead. But, that type of situation, I think that I have a chance. You have no choice but to just keep on moving forward. So I guess just to end it all, I went down a rabbit hole. I just feel like, horror has always been like my life. And that door opened up just because of my mom.
Oh, shout out to, what we should shout out to either the parents, the siblings, the elders, whomever pulled us in to the genre. So, you know what? We'll round out with Miss Kyasia. What about you?
Please excuse my voice. It's been a very long day. But
okay.
For me, Black horror is just another branch of Black excellence. There's so much richness and beauty in our culture and in the things that we experience through the Black experience. And so we get an opportunity to tell that story, whether it's like horrific or it shows like you overcoming something through this horror. And so I think it's a beautiful avenue for us to just express the richness of our culture and what it is to be Black and that experience. I was introduced to the genre through my aunt, ironically. And it's funny, Chauncey, that you say that you were scared a lot when you were younger. I was too. My cousins would scare me with Halloween masks, and I hated going to Walmart and all that during October. It was petrifying for me. So now that I'm like making monsters, it is just mind-boggling to my family because they're like, where did this come from?
Yeah.
But the first film I can remember watching was Final Destination. I was 6 as well. I think I was either like 5 or 6 when it came out. But I just remember Todd's death, the shower scene, really fucked me up. Like I couldn't go to the restroom by myself for weeks. And it's something about that scene that just, it clicked. And I was like, I like this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We all have those moments in, I guess our favorite horror film when we're just like, this is hitting, this slaps, But you know what? Let's move right along to our next question. What horror media are you currently into right now? So this can be books, movies, television, video games, podcasts. Well, obviously Jasmine and Kat are a podcast. But what is everyone into right now, or what would you recommend? And let's start with drum roll, Chauncey.
Okay. I've always loved comic books. That's another big thing for me. As you see, the Batman is in the background. So I've been trying to get back into horror comics. And one of the ones I've been reading so far is Box of Bones, which deals with the story. The names of the writers are off the top, not at the top of my head right now, but deals with the story where a young professional Black woman is basically going around trying to find this elusive box of bones, which has monsters in it that represent Black traumas, like the Brute and things like that. Like, and basically each of these monsters have a story connected to Black trauma in some kind of era of time, from Philadelphia to the South and things like that. So I really love comic books, and I love the idea of horror in comics, because there's such a beautiful kind of look to it. And the panels, you can kind of marinate on it a little bit more. So I've been really into that. I really love watching people play horror games. My partner, he plays a lot of horror games. I'm not the type to want to play it myself because I feel things. So I'd rather watch someone. So we just finished, for Valentine's Day, one of the things I wanted to do was finish Resident Evil Biohazard. So, which is part 7, in time for Resident Evil Village to come out, which is in May. So I love watching horror video games because I think those are a lot of fun and always kind of, like Until Dawn and things like that are really fun. So I've been into that. And of course, I'm on YouTube. So that's another thing, with reactions and stuff.
Yeah, like, same comic book nerd from way, way back. I'm really gonna have to check out that comic that you recommended, Bag of Bones.
Yeah, right? Box of Bones.
Box of Bones. Okay, yes. Box of Bones. I'm going to recommend Juke Joint by T. Franklin. If anyone has heard of it, it's amazing. I don't want to spoil it, but just look into it. JOOKJOINT by T. Franklin. Amazing comic book series. Okay, next we're gonna go with Zero. What about you? What are you into?
Well, right now I'm watching WandaVision, so I don't want to get my timelines messed up. So, but I have been playing Resident Evil. I finished Resident Evil Revelations, and by finished, I mean got all the way to the boss level and then quit because fuck that. But yeah, and I got that spark of excitement after the Resident Evil showcase. So that's there. And then I've been playing a lot of Phasmophobia with my friends at night. If any of you aren't familiar with that one and you're into paranormal stuff, it's on PC. I would definitely check that one out. My friends and I really like fucking around with ghosts. And we also just recently finished The Forest on stream, which is crazy survival game with cannibals and kind of nuts, almost Resident Evil-y backstory. So if people are into Resident Evil and like more open world format games, I would suggest that one. It's scary. And I just started Romina, the newest Junji Ito manga. I'm not really feeling it so far, but I'm not done yet, so I can't give my full circle. But yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on these days.
That's awesome. I love how everyone here is just hyping up, bowing down to the magnificence of Lady Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village. Everybody's like, care less about Ethan, care less about the zombies. What are the vampires up to at this castle? So
knowing Resident Evil, though, it's all gonna be ruined for us because there's people like me. Like every time I see a cosplayer who cosplays on my timeline, I like drool a little bit. But I know when I come around and when I play it, I'm partnered with this podcast called Land Party. I create content for them, so they're waiting to put me in the VR headset when it comes out. But I know like her just beauty is gonna be ruined for me because knowing Resident Evil, something's gonna happen. Like her head's gonna split open. There's gonna be tentacles, and she's not gonna be sexy anymore. So
tentacles can be sexy. I don't know, Marguerite had those spiders coming out of her. I thought that was amazing and terrifying. I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah, I love how someone said in the chat, tentacles, not necessarily a deal breaker. All right.
Yeah.
there are levels and gradations, right? All right. So Kaisha, what about you? What are you into these days?
I guess I've gotten to the point now where I'm focusing more on behind the scenes. So I love documentaries on like a lot of our favorite cult classics, or even, for example, I think I've seen the making of Thriller like 15 million times, and I'm just fascinated by that makeup work each and every time I watch it. Also, making of The Exorcist, and like seeing how that transpired is amazing. And then of course podcasts, Cat and Jazz. Good shit. So yeah, if I'm not doing that, I'm looking at documentaries or I'm watching the same movies that I've been watching since I was a kid. Cause yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, those it's amazing that those have been captured on celluloid, the making of those films. I'm with you, Kaija. I go back and watch them probably like as soon as the internet came about, or if they somehow came on television. I don't know if anybody remembers TV, like before
Who is
internet.
she?
Right? Like before, cable, rabbit ears. I don't know if people remember those, antenna, satellite. But anyway, those are some great recommendations. What about you, Zena? What are you into?
Right now I've been kind of focusing on some series, like some older series. So I'm kind of obsessed with Tubi for some reason. And they have everything. Good. Like they're the best. Tubi and Midnight Pulp is like two of like my favorite streaming services because there are some movies, series I've never even heard of before. So I actually just finished watching this one series. I think it probably aired maybe on the Sci-Fi Channel, like early 2000s, called 5 Days to Midnight. It is more kind of like thriller, but it's basically about this guy who finds this briefcase that has photos of him dead. So he has to like find out what happened to him. Like I know, like your pearls, but it was just kind of like shocking because, and he has like a little girl and then he lost his wife, like literally like a year before. It's like all this crazy stuff happening. Like at first he thought like maybe it's like somebody playing a trick on him. So that show though, it's really good. So I only have like a few more episodes before I'm done with it. Super short. And again, even with Midnight Pulp, there's a lot of hidden gems on there. So I'm trying to like go back and rewatch some of those. And then kind of like Kai, like I've also just been rewatching some of like my favorite horror movies because we all need that comfort right now.
Yeah, yeah. When you described that movie, I was like, is this the premise of a new Silent Hill game or I don't know. Anyway, let's move it along with Jazz and Kat to close out.
Okay, so I've been literally all over the place as of recently. Like I've been on YouTube rabbit holes between like watching Tina and other horror content creators to watching people go to Disney World because I'm having FOMO right now. Okay, we can all relate. And then of course on Tubi discovering like a lot of C-list horrors. Like that is my bag. Like the shakiest of shaky movies make me feel so good. And it's only because I know it's gonna be terrible, but it may be a good time. It may not be, but I'm really gonna take the risk. So that's really just kind of where I've been right now. What about you?
I'm definitely into watching people play horror games on Twitch because I will tell y'all, I got Five Nights at Freddy's one time. No. I played it one time and deleted it off the phone immediately. That's it. No more Freddy Fazbear's for me, bro. Like,
the computer in the well, I was about to. I had to put it away.
That's it. But definitely getting into series. Like Kat got me into series like Channel Zero, The Terror, 2 Sentence Horror Stories. Just because it's kind of short. Sometimes you don't want to invest the whole movie. Speaking of shorts, the Alter channel on YouTube is a fun rabbit hole to go down. You might get 4 minutes, 10 minutes, 30 minutes, just a bunch of horror shorts, and you can knock out like 10 movies in a day. It's really awesome. And then of course, I can't sleep at night, so I may click a random horror movie at 1 a.m. because I'm a psychopath. So yeah, that's where I am.
No, that is so awesome. I mean, that's literally, pre and maybe there's like a pre-COVID life and then like during COVID life. And I guess we'll see what post-COVID life looks like in regards to how we're occupying our time. You know what I mean? So, that is a great segue to our next question. How has the current pandemic affected your 2020/2021? So gain or loss of revenue, loss or gain of new subscribers, shifted gears in your content, et cetera, et cetera. So we'll start with you, Kaija.
Well, I started Kai FX Horror Group in the middle of the pandemic. So I guess I don't want to say it's been a good thing. Of course, this pandemic has been hell, but you have to learn how to adjust. So like, okay, I can't go and interview these people in, real life, not real life, but like be face to face. So you better get acquainted with Zoom. You better get acquainted with, FaceTiming and doing things of that nature. So I definitely have taken a lot of dubs since I guess COVID has started. I've got to meet some amazing people like Zero, like Kat and Jazz, like Zena, like everybody's so cool within like the Black horror community. So yeah, and everybody took me in with open arms. So this has been a really cool experience thus far.
Oh,
So.
that's really sweet. That's really sweet. Zero, what about you? Since she mentioned you.
Well, can't say it's been the greatest. Previously, I gained a lot of my eyeballs on my content from doing events and panel discussions live at conventions, and I can't do that anymore. So I kind of came to like a screeching halt. But the best thing that definitely outweighs the cons is I found my gang over this quarantine, and I will say it's a little depressing that it took this long, but I've been on Instagram for a long time and without noticing any of these people that are on the panel right now. And it was at the height of the protests this past summer. And everyone was on their more or less performative stuff. But fortunately, it was due to a bunch of retweets from bigger horror pages like Shudder and Bloody Disgusting, that I was able to find Jazz and Kat and Kai and Xena and Bobby, who I think is watching right now, and a bunch of others. But I didn't know any of these people existed until they were given that exposure. Unfortunately, that's what it took for me to find them. But I found them now, and now I'm very obviously not letting any of them go because I'm in their DMs all the time. But I'm grateful for that, and I don't have to be sour about I spent X amount of years without seeing content creators that look like me on the internet who, are similarly part of similar fandoms that I am. So I can let that go now and I can move forward with my content. And now it really drives me knowing that vaccines are coming around, and that we might be looking at sort of a little bit of light at the end of the tunnel, maybe. And that just gives me hope, because I know that when conventions open up and when it's safer to travel and stuff, I know that I will be making content with all these awesome people that I found and that I um, made these friendships with online. So it started off like pretty shitty, but there's always a silver lining, and the silver lining ended up being bigger than the entire rainstorm in this case.
Oh, that is so sweet. Wow. Oh, that's very touching. All right, Jazz, Kat. I'm pinging, you know what? Because everyone is in this what would you call it? 5 degrees of of separation from whomever. So we're just gonna move over to Jazz and Kat. How about you?
We started the podcast literally a few months before the pandemic started. So literally October 2019, we were like, yeah, let's do a podcast. And then literally by March 13th, which was the Friday the 13th, we was like, wow, we're going to be inside.
Which really sucked because we usually go get tattoos. I know like that's very minuscule.
Yeah, Friday the 13th is a tattoo day. But it kind of made us kind of shackled that because we had so much free time. So I ended up, at least I watched so many things because as a teacher, I don't have that much free time, So now that I'm kind of working from home right now, not for too much longer, but right now, I'm able to like dive into horror, and we're able to spend a little bit more time. But I never got a chance to go to any cons. I've never been to a horror con before in my life, and we were about to go, and pandemic. So it's more so I want to meet y'all in real life.
Me
I hope
too.
y'all know me in real life. Gang, blood in, blood out. I'm really aggressive with friendship. So it's just like, I want to meet everybody. I want to go places. And that's really the only thing we're waiting on. So that at least I am.
Yeah, literally 2 weeks before I say outside was closed, because I know it closed for everyone at different periods of time. And for us, it was literally March 13th. Like a week or two before that, like I was everywhere. The last con I went to was Galaxy Con in Virginia. So that was cool because I got to meet some people there, but since then, I think it's a bit of a lot of what Jasmine said, also what Zero had said about, June came around and the uprisings, which happen frequently, but everyone's home now. So we all can see it and we don't have a choice to turn a blind eye to it. And that kind of changed a lot. Like it definitely did, like she said, unfortunately, but fortunately, lifted a lot of people to the front, and it allowed us to meet all each other that are here. It's still going. Like we're still getting introduced to new people every day, which is awesome. It's kind of crappy that it took this type of situation. But I'm very thankful for that. So there is, something that is good that has come from it. I'm able to grow not just a community of other people in the genre itself, because I love meeting everyone, but especially like learning new people every day that look like me. And it's been inspiring other people to get up and start their own thing, which is really amazing. I love when there's like, obviously everybody's going through like a pit, like it's bullshit, but there's always like a burst of creativity that comes from that. And I've been really just like excited to just get to see that a little bit more of that across the genre completely.
Yeah. Oh gosh. Everyone's statements are just really hitting, because, this pandemic has kind of been like a twofold situation, right? Where some things for us have come to a screeching halt, but for some of us, it's created these new lanes and avenues, because now people have finally like stopped for a second to like, look around, and, really take notice of not only just each other, but the world, and the larger circumstances that everyone's going through. And it just really hits that for some of us that this pandemic has been, I don't know, an opportunity to, I don't know, make some new inroads, like you all said, to, bring a lot of us, together that we never would have met before, that finally, it's funny, we're on the internet all the time, but are we really? It's like, finally it's like, I can meet Kayasia, I can meet Zena, like Jazz and Kat, Chauncey, like Zero, Zoe, like I like all of these different people, even some people in the chat. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can see you for once, So it's just really cool, and it's just really touching. I'm just really touched by everyone's comments. So let's go with Chauncey. What about you? Pandemic 2021.
It's been interesting. I usually I've traveled a lot for my journalism usually, and I was actually really excited because I think it was my first time getting approved to cover South by Southwest, and that was really awesome, like, as journalists getting in and things like that. And then it was like, oh, that's not happening. And it was just like, oh, okay. And then I had applied for and was in the process of applying for the Tribeca Film Festival, and I was getting, and then I was like, oh, that's not happening either. And so all these things where I was just like, career milestones in terms of travel and coverage and things were kind of being stopped. So I was I already work. I work from home because I work remotely with the publication that I am an editor on, and it was interesting because I kind of felt like, okay, I get to spend more time with my 3 cats, which is awesome because they always get mad at me when I have to travel and I'm gone for days at a time. So that was nice. But at the same time, I live in Los Angeles, but all of my family is in Jersey. And that's been really kind of rough on me, not seeing my my parents and my brother and stuff, because I used to go over to New York every couple of months, just kind of, to see people and stay, because that was my thing about connecting. Being a born and raised Jersey girl. And so that's been a little rough on me, but I, call my parents every day. And honestly, this is giving me a chance to kind of, like others are saying, like kind of check more into my interpersonal relationships and bringing them into the things I already do. Like I kind of, during the pandemic, I was having like panic attacks, things like that, because I was like, this is the end, like just things were just like, I was like, what is going on? And so when I finally got a chance to just kind of pause and stuff, it was I had actually taken a break from my YouTube for a bit because I didn't know why I was on there after a bit. I'm like, I'm trending topics, sure. But even when I did film reviews, I wasn't really always feeling it at much because I was like, what am I doing this for? Because I always do that when I write or anything. I'm like, why am I doing this? So I took a break for a couple of months. And then around October, I came back into doing my YouTube. And also, of course, I was still working at my publication at all throughout this, but I was like, I really want to give people the space to think critically and feel deeply when I talk about the genre, when I talk about horror, when I talk about film in general, and that has really helped. I do more live streams now where I can talk to people for longer because I was so afraid of doing live streams before on YouTube because I just didn't know what was going to happen. And now I do them like 2 times a week. And it's been a really great response, just connecting with people more. I have my mom hosting the Charmed panel that I do. I have my brother doing WandaVision weekly with me. My partner, my boyfriend, we were doing The Stand on CBS. And it's just been so great because I want to spend more time with these people. So I've been like, and the other friends in Harkman, I'd be like, hey, you want to do this thing with me? You want to co-host this movie Autopsy with me? And that's been really good. And I feel like I've been reinvigorated with why I have been really wanting to hone in on my film and TV criticism that I do. And it's been a great response because I've actually grown more on YouTube than I have in terms of pace. Quicker in the last months that I've been more concentrated on the kind of work I want to do. So that's been really good. And of course, meeting new people, being able to collab with other people, having that kind of thing to be like, hey, I want to work with you or something like that a bit more. So that's been, it's been good, the positives and negatives. I miss seeing my parents in person though, but yeah, other than that.
Oh, that's awesome. And lastly, Zena, what about you? Pandemic 2020?
Kind of similar to Chauncey. So okay, I feel like for me, it's kind of been like a good thing because I kind of transitioned the end of 2019. I decided to leave my because love. So I kind of want to go back to that. But I just so happened movies because at that time around October from like 2019, 2018, I used to write for Dread Central. And it was really cool being able to write about movies, doing set visits. But then again, like I said, it ultimately, it wasn't my passion. So I decided to kind of like, okay, let me take a step back and see exactly what I really want to do. And so I planned out my entire 2020, like exactly what kind of videos I was going to do and which companies I wanted to work for. So because I was working from home and then I also live in the middle of nowhere, it kind of didn't really affect me in that way. The only thing is because I live in Tampa and all of my family, they live up in New York, so I couldn't see anyone. And unfortunately, it's super sad news. We lost 2 family members and I couldn't even go up there, so it was just like a real struggle, but it was just, kind of like even with those people who we lost, they've always been super supportive of everything that I would put out, everything. So it's just like, all right, I know that I have to just continue on following my passion instead of, like I'm happy that I stepped away from that job. Of course, it was paying me well and, everybody there was really cool, but you know how it is when you're doing something and you're not passionate about it. And then it starts to drain you and it starts to affect your mood, that nothing makes you happy and, anymore. So I'd always felt that, I'm a very positive person, but then I found that, okay, I'm feeling stressed out on a Sunday or I'm stressed out at breakfast.
Fetch.
Like, how?
Go fetch.
Uh-oh. I think someone's unmuted. Uh-oh.
Okay. Okay, but yeah. So point is, a lot of people, they were able to find Real Queen of Horror. They were able to find my videos and find certain podcasts and everything. So it kind of like boosted me up, like beyond that I ever thought at all. And, then I was able to meet everyone, all these like awesome people on this panel because, you know, then you start to kind of like what Zero said, because of Bloody Disgusting and Shudder, they kind of wanted to showcase us all. Yeah. So it's just been like of course, there's been some horrible things that happened, but then ultimately there's been some great things. So, but ultimately it's just kind of been it's been like a win. I feel like just not only just for me, but kind of like, okay, because of what I'm doing, I know there's been some other people who feel inspired to do something too. And that's just an awesome thing. Like you do that, you write those stories, or you start a podcast or a YouTube channel. So yeah.
Yeah. You know, that message, it really hits, because it you know, we have lost a lot of people, and we're still reckoning with that. Like, what does it truly mean to have, at least in the United States, right? At least in the United States, have 500,000 like plus people just not here anymore. You know what I mean? We're still gonna be grappling with this for like decades to come. You know, this is like the AIDS crisis of our time. You know what I mean? As far as like a large section of our communities that are just gone, and we're gonna have to really reckon with that. And you know, I guess like all of you have said, like the high, I guess at the end of the tunnel is, you know, those of us that are still here that are like carrying the torch to, you know, keep our communities alive, you know, interfacing with each other to give each other a morale boost, a bit of confetti online, a little ping on PayPal or Venmo or something like that. But we're going to go on with our next question. What are some niche things you may be into that would shock and amaze, but also make us stand for each and every one of you even harder? All right, let's start with Jazz and Kat.
Ooh, like niche stuff, random stuff. First of all, horror anime is really is like, if y'all seen Parasite, woo! Listen, I love some spooky cartoons. Let me tell you, South Station, that's on Shudder right now. I love spooky animation.
Yep.
Bloody animation. It's really creepy. I just saw like Wolf House or something that's also on Shudder. It's like this animated, but it's like in real time, kind of like they're painting over it. It's so surreal, but it feels like you're in a nightmare. So I just like, what? Yeah, spooky animation really just, and very violent rap music is also my Hypnotized Camp fam. Where y'all at?
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Spooky anime, random rap songs. My bass is thumping very hard every morning when I pull up to the workplace. I do not care. That's how I live my life. I also like to randomly crochet and watch musicals. So
I didn't know that.
Oh, nice. Okay, we got some musical stands in the house. All right, Kaisha, what about you?
Oh wow. I really like to watch hard commentary. There's this channel called Spooky Rice that does like,
I love Spooky Rice.
And I'm talking about, I really think I have like this thing for like over the top horror movies, like Serbian film. Like, I don't know what it is about that like deep fantasy to like watch those movies. But I will, instead of watching them though, I'll just listen to Spooky Rice talk about them. And I'm like, this is awesome. I'm also a big music fan too, hip hop for sure. Definitely spooky hip hop. And I like to listen to like hip hop and like, I'm like, oh, that was spooky. That was scary. And like talk about that too. So yeah, for sure. But Spooky Rice, or even like different kill counts is like, that's my jelly. For sure.
What about you, Zena?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, I like to shop. I really love to shop. I love fashion so much. You should see my closet. I have so many shoes and I have purses and shoes and accessories for days. I'm thinking about like kicking my husband's stuff out because I need that whole room. At first, this office was going to be my closet, but I was like, all right, that's selfish, you know. I might and then also I really love to code. So I've been coding using HTML since I was about 9. So it's just been a thing.
Awesome.
So cool.
Wow. Okay, so you're talking about what is this? Internet Explorer? Like,
yes, yes, girl. Like I was like that little kid who was just, I didn't want to go outside, you know. So it's just kind of like I was just inside on the computer, you know, watching Powerpuff Girls and coding.
That is cool. Zeros and ones. Zeros and ones. What about you, Zero?
And ones. I love to cook a lot, and I have had plenty of time to cook recently. I just thrifted, like, my favorite thing ever is this little waffle makers like this big.
The
And it
mini
makes
one?
skull waffles. I made a post on my Instagram about it because I'm obsessed with it. But yeah, I don't know. I guess everything else about me is a little predictable, I guess. In terms of horror and sci-fi and dark fantasy, but yeah, I really like to cook, and well, something that I'm missing right now is like live shows. I used to frequent a lot of like local shows. A friend of mine is, runs this collective called the Pit Witch Collective, which is local to New York City, and she books shows with local New York metal and hardcore bands that are all from underrepresented genres of people. So all queer bands and all black metal bands, all local to New York City, which is something really cool that I like to consume, but I haven't had the chance to. So in the meantime, I'm working on my culinary skills, and I just finished, what was it, season 15 of Hell's Kitchen. I can't do too many at a time. I'll do like 2 seasons a year, but I'm done with my season for the year. So
Wow.
that's where
Wow.
I am.
What about you, Chauncey? Some niche stuff, some cool stuff.
I'm really into documentaries. That's kind of my thing, just to watch a whole bunch of documentaries. I just love learning new stuff all the time. So I'll just go on a rabbit hole of like actual things about just random stuff. Like I've been always about like the aliens, like ancient aliens. And I have my issues with them a little bit, but it's like I got the books and I'm reading those and things like I love that kind of talk. I also am a big fan of music. I love Rico Nasty. She's one of my faves. I just love her whole like thing and like the rage. Like I'm just like, yes, Rico. Yeah, so I love Rico Nasty. And my mother, she raised like it's Wicca and Baptist. That was the two things. So I do witchcraft and things like that. That's just kind of, in my family, hoodoo. Hoodoo. So yeah, things like that. Don't worry, I don't hex anybody like that, but it's more so like a spiritual kind of thing, just to, just in my family and stuff. So that's kind of the I guess that would be the mixture, because if people came in my house and they saw I have an altar, that might be like, oh, what's that? So yeah, that might be a little surprising.
Well, for the uninitiated, I think, I love that there have been a lot of really great little like mini documentaries. I know PBS did one about the origin of like the zombie and the zombie. It talked about voodoo and Valdoon and Santeria. It like went in, and I was just like, yes, get this information out.
There's a lot of great books on it that just kind of, especially when it comes to like the African American experience in hoodoo in particular, because a lot of time when we hear Wicca, when we hear witch, it's very European centric, Celtic type stuff. So it's actually Christian, and hoodoo is like this mixture of Christianity. Okay, I can start talking about hoodoo, but like it's really something, and it's actually connected in all the things we do, just the things that we learned growing up, like throwing salt over your shoulder, things like that. Those are things that all of us do, as I think in the Black experience. But when you learn the roots of it, you kind of realize, well, you've always kind of been practicing this. You might have just not been aware. So that's kind of
Oh gosh, that is, what, we need to have another podcast so we can talk about like Black religious or cultural practices.
Yeah, that's my jam.
Yeah, that have an origin somewhere. Okay, I think we have time for one last question. Zoe, I hope we can squeeze this one in. So this is, why are Black women in horror integral to the landscape, and what perspectives are we giving that nobody else would? All right, let's start with Zena.
I feel like no one else can tell a Black woman's story other than a Black woman. And automatically what came to mind, I always think about Eve's Bayou, because that was directed and written by Casey Lemons. And everything that she was put through took her 4 years, for that movie to be made. And she received, like, there was just so much pushback for her to make that movie, and she had to fight for it. She had to fight for wanting to tell that story. And imagine if someone else, because I think it was a man that they wanted, I'm sorry, I don't remember his name, but a man they wanted to direct it. And but imagine if someone else did it. That could have just, I don't want to say destroy the story, but I think it could have destroyed the story, because I feel like that movie is ultimately perfect. So that's automatically what comes to mind for me.
Great commentary. That, you made me think also of Daughters of the Dust, for example, if we're talking about, like that Black woman's eye and like lens and maybe perspective that you you wouldn't get from something else. What about you, Kaija?
I believe that like culturally horror is a genre that is seen through the lens of like the white male gaze, white straight male gaze. So, it goes into, like, for example, the traditional final girl being one that is a virgin or isn't sexually, expressive, or is kind of kept to herself. And so I feel like with the richness, again, going back to what I said earlier, of Black culture and Black women, we get to tell our experiences through this genre of film, through horror. And so I think it's really interesting, the perspectives that we have through just the things that we've gone through, or just our daily experiences, are just so unique and so diverse. And so we get to, express that through this genre of film. So yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Jazz and Kat?
To piggyback on what Kai just said, definitely the experience and that richness, but also I feel like because of our experience and because it's kind of always been a white male, white cis male, just their streamline, we Black women specifically, especially Black women who are disabled, queer, like we have these different perspectives about us. We ask why when others don't. Well, why did this happen? Well, why is it like this? Well, why was this choice made? And we see things that other people are blinded to because of their experience. And I feel like it's really important for people to go against the status quo, to be like, oh, well, actually, everybody loves this movie, but I don't like this movie, not because I don't like it, but because it seems narrow, but everybody else doesn't understand that because they have that same perspective sometimes. So it's just good to open it up, because then you get more like unique films, you get unique critiques, then people take those critiques and maybe they might change it into something else, or they might take it in mind when they make their next film, like maybe I might put somebody else in the room, to walk me through this, or maybe I might invite someone else in the room to tell the story of this person, because those directors love to tell stories of shoes that they never walked in,
right?
And it's really we can tell when someone else wrote our story, because girl, that's not what happened. So it's just like that
we can tell when someone else wrote our story. We can tell when someone else wrote someone else's story. Like I could just tell who wrote this. And everyone has basically, to everyone said, period. Like it's important to have these voices in the room, especially people who have been underrepresented for so long, especially Black women. And it's just, you have to have not just that, but other people too. You have to have these voices in the room. We're shaking shit up. We're changing shit up. And I don't know. That's period. That's it.
Exactly.
We love to see it. What about you, Chauncey?
Yeah, I mean, I just pretty much what others have said. It's very much we bring a different perspective because of our lived experience, especially under this system. We're super exploited, but even in that, I mean, we saw that with the recent elections. Black women are leadership. When we join fights, there is statistically speaking a 5 to 10% increase in chances of winning, whether that's unions, whether it's anything. And so all of these struggles, not just like when it's deemed a Black struggle or a Black woman struggle, like, debt, things like that, are all of our struggles. And so I think when it comes to storytelling, when it comes to looking at other people's storytelling, whether it's film analysis and stuff, we bring a perspective because we can see things that others necessarily aren't aware of because they don't have to look at it. And because Black women tend to stand in so many circles, and so many it's intersectionality. We stand in so many things that we're able to see those different ones. And because I always think, Black women, we have a tendency to be able to save the world, but we're not just saving the world to save the world. We save the world to save ourselves too, because we understand that because of this system, we are the most exploited at times. And so we have to save everybody else, because if they go, then it's, so it's, and that's the same thing with storytelling, and the same thing with this genre. We have the power to truly, we know terror, and we also know triumph. So it's one of those things where we can bring that perspective to the horror genre in a way that I honestly think no one else can.
Yeah. Oof, well said. What about you, Zero? What are we bringing? What are we giving? What are we serving?
Well, first of all, I just want to say I don't know whose cat that was, but I just saw a beautiful cat. So
ooh.
Yeah, that was a very gorgeous cat. But for those of you who know my content, know that, drop the petticoat. The only thing I give a shit about is proper representation. And the highest pinnacle of representation is intersectionality. And you can't really claim proper representation, because there's a difference, without intersectionality. And Black women are a pillar of intersectionality because, well, obviously, the Black experience as a whole is not ours. The woman in America experience as a whole is not ours, but we're both of them and neither at the same time, if anything, our own. And perspectives are everything. And like Jazz said earlier, or was it Kat? Well, you guys both had, well, I wanted to go on both of your points, but it's very, very easy to sniff out false representation for people that occupy intersectional lifestyles. So mixing with queer and disabled, etc. It's easy to sniff that stuff out, and it's disappointing when you sniff that stuff out from the consuming side of the spectrum. So I think to be a Black woman creating content either on a smaller scale like me or on a huge production scale in the movies that we consume, there's a lot of responsibility on our shoulders, because people like us that consume this similar content can see through the bullshit. And if it's not 100%, it's not 100%. And there's really no faking that when there's all these different perspectives that a whole population of people share and understand, even though it's not the default. It's still, one of, it's still prominent for us, is what I'm trying to say. And if we don't do it, I don't think anyone will. And we're just going to keep having our stories projected by people who really aren't fit to tell our stories. And I started laughing with when your comment of Jazz and Kat, because I was literally just talking about Ma last night with Rashad Santiago in my live. And it was very much a story about us that was not written by us. And it was an entertaining movie, and I did have fun watching it, but it you could smell it on the movie, and that it doesn't look good. It doesn't feel good. And I don't want that for anyone in the community. That's what I loathe most, which is why I put it first on the spectrum. But yeah, intersectionality or bust, in my opinion.
Oh man. Oh, we need that on a shirt. All right.
Intersectionality or bust.
Yeah, I love it. We love to see it. Okay. So, you know what? We have come to the end of our time. I have just been mm-hmming and nodding and internally, combusting by the pulchritude on display here. Everybody has just been amazing. It's just so awesome to, oh, the cat's back. It's just been so amazing to, really just chat with everybody and pick everyone's brain a little about, what makes them tick. I can't wait to really hook up with you all more in our spare time. I am super appreciative to Zoe and Rebecca for hosting us on this event. So just to close out, I'm going to ask, we're going to go alphabetical order again. We're going to ask everyone if you could plug either your social medias, what you're currently working on, new projects, whatever you really want to kind of highlight. So first, we're going to start with Chauncey.
Yeah, my YouTube channel, Twisted CKR. You can find it under Chauncey K. Robinson as well. So yeah, I do live streams, reactions, trailers, things like that. That's kind of the main thing I'm building right now.
Awesome. Next, we're going to go with Jazz and Kat.
Yeah, you can find us on Instagram and Twitter at Girl That's Scary. And our website is www.girlthatscary.com. Check out our podcast.
Yeah, we're on Apple, Spotify, Anchor. Yeah, just search Girl That's Scary.
All right. Next, we're going to go with you, Kaisha. How about you?
You want to follow the podcast on Instagram and Twitter, it's MVHU Podcast. And if you want to follow KFX Horror Group on Instagram, it's KF Horror Group. Or if you just want to go to the website and see everything, the makeup, the podcast, the content features, it's www.kfxhorror.com.
Okay. Before we, go to the next person, I know that you are currently in Texas, right, Kaisha?
Yes.
And, I know we have a plethora of people here who may be in the United States or outside of the United States, but Texas has just been devastated across the state. So if you have anything that you'd like to plug for assistance with anything you may need, Kaisha, or any, charities or anything like that, please do so.
Yeah, I can send you or Zoe links to aids and funds. If you can go ahead and plug that in on your page, that would actually mean a lot. I'm fine. I just was without power and water for a few days, but there are a lot of people in the community, especially in like the more marginalized areas in the city, that need a lot of help. So that would definitely be awesome to do that. So
thank you so much. We're glad that you have your power back, you have your water back, that you're okay, that you're alive, you're safe.
Yeah, that was insane. Been very cold. But yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah, it was a horror movie down there, like for real. Like I obviously with quarantine we were kind of glued to what was going on, but wow. Next we're gonna go with Zero. What about you? Social medias, things.
You can find me on everything: Instagram, Twitter, Letterboxd, Twitch. I am always at IDK Gravity because I don't know gravity. I don't know how to stay grounded. Right now, I have my raffle still going on. I'm going to close it on the 1st. I'm raffling off a really cool Black Horror History prize pack. And all the benefits at the end, I will send over to my friends at the Black Film Allegiance to further the cycle of Black filmmaking. So yeah, that's all
awesome.
I got.
I did see that prize pack. I think it includes Horror Noir by Dr. Coleman. Is that right?
Yeah, I have the textbook. I have the DVD sealed, a Funko Pop of Pluto from Us, and I will also be printing my personal zine that I crafted based off of Horror Noir. I'm going to slip that in there.
Wow, that is so cool. So that's another like documentary that is just essential viewing. Horror Noir, if you all have not seen it, if you've seen it already, watch it again because it's brilliant. It's brilliant. It's like what I've been kind of like waiting for my whole life. I'm like, so where's the Black horror documentary? Anyone make one? Anyone? But here it is.
I would like part 2.
Yeah, we need a part 2. There's been some films we need to have a discussion on.
Absolutely.
So lastly, we're going to end with the amazing and talented Zena. What about you?
Well, first, thank you again for the invite. I'm like super honored to be amongst all these awesome people. I admire them all, and thank you for all the viewers and supporters. But you guys can follow me on Twitter. I'm always on Twitter, Lovely Zena, and Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, Real Queen of Horror. And then also, I forgot to plug earlier, Bloody Disgusting podcast. So I'm also a co-host on there.
Awesome. Well, just real quick, I guess I'll plug myself. I didn't even do that. So you can find me on Twitter at the Dani Bethea, TheDaniBethea. You can also find me on Medium. All of the links to my work and everything else are on Twitter. So that's like my main hub of communication. Make sure to check out We Are Horror Zine. We have some amazing, talented writers there. We actually are about to start taking pitches for our next magazine, and this particular issue will be centered around the undead. So if you start thinking of some pitches, make sure to send them in to us. And we are so thankful to Ghouls Magazine. Congratulations on the launching of the website. It looks gorgeous. There is some stellar stuff there on the magazine. Zoe, you truly like hit it out of the park with like everything. Zoe, Rebecca, y'all have just been, like you floored the gas when you decided to do this project. And I'm going to hand it over to Zoe for the next panel. Thank you so much for joining us. Chauncey, Jazz and Kat, Zena, Zero, Ada. It's been a blast. Thank you so much. I love you all. Mwah.
Thanks, girl.
See you on socials.
Bye.
Thank you so much, guys. Bye.
Bye.